because I want to actually give you an idea of what's going on and what the real problems are. There's two parts of this equation, and they're two very different parts. One component is the state, and one is the city. I'm going to start with the state, and then I'll go back to the city. The state component is the problem that's endemic in the way property taxes are assessed. Class 2 properties are assessed at 45% of their base value, and they can go up to 20% a year. A property that's a 1 or 2 family home is only assessed at 6% of that property's value. And it can only go up 6% per year. Okay? So the first problem that we have has nothing to do with assessment. It has to do with the base level of taxation for your co-ops and condos in state law. Why does that happen? Well, because back in around 1980, there was a court suit in Nassau County because co-op and condo owners in Nassau County and property owners were upset at the way taxes were assessed. So they brought this lawsuit. Eventually, it winds its way up. The state legislature is forced to redo property taxes completely. They came up with a 2-year interim plan. There was supposed to be a report at the end of that plan, and they were supposed to reassess the whole process. Well, I don't have to tell you what year it is, and what I can tell you is it's never happened. There's never been the reassessment. They have never taken those reports. Year after year, the city, the state file these reports about what's happening with property taxes, and nothing gets done. So the first problem is no one in Albany wants, and this is Republicans and Democrats, this is not one side or the other, this is both of them, do not want to open up the Pandora's box of property taxes to make the playing field level. The consequence of that is, I have a small group of Wildflower Estates, condos, and co-ops up in the Beechhurst area. A 4-bedroom up there will now be effectively taxed at $33,000 per year for a 4-bedroom. That's what happens when the 421 exemption, 421A exemption expires at the end of next year. $33,000 for a 4-bedroom. That has nothing to do with assessment. That has just to do with how the state formula works. So, one thing all of you need to do is put the pressure on your legislators in the state Senate and the Assembly to say, we have to readdress the issue. Co-ops and condos, as long as they're not Manhattan high-rises, should be treated like every other piece of 1 or 2 family homes in New York City. That way, all of you will share the property tax burden evenly. So that's problem number 1. Problem number 2, the one that you're more interested in right now, assessment. We had a vote in the City Council back last term, giving the state the right to raise your property taxes 2.5% Class 1 shares and Class 2 properties, then go up proportionally. Not a big increase, but as was pointed out, every year over the last 10 years, if there hasn't been a property tax increase, there's been an assessment increase, which is effectively the same thing. In addition to that, as you all know, water and sewer rates have gone up double digits every year for the last 10 years. Okay? So who passes that along? Of course, your co-op and condo boards have to say, all right, it costs us this much more for water and sewer, we have to charge each unit that much more. So you're getting taxed on that side. Then, the city decided it was going to use a new program to evaluate how it assesses properties. And under this new program, they're looking across the city to try to find comparable values. Well, unfortunately, there is no place other than our district that you're going to find comparable co-ops and condos. They don't have them everywhere else that are like ours. In Manhattan, yes, they have the luxury high-rise ones. And as was pointed out, their assessments only went up 30%. We had some locations in this district that went up 200%. 200%. It's not something that could possibly be accurate. The machine system that they're using, they claim at the City Department of Finance, can be overridden. Meaning, after all the data is crunched, they look at these comparable properties. They're able to step in and say, yeah, but it just doesn't look right. Well, guess what? They did that in Manhattan. They didn't do it for us. When this process started, we received about 3 dozen complaints or so, and I reached out to Bob Friedrich and to Warren Schreiber, and said, something's not right with these numbers on your side, tell me what we can do. 70% of the properties that I submitted to Department of Finance for reevaluation were immediately downgraded. This is before the commissioner decided there really was a problem. 70%. So that meant the city was willing to tax you far in excess of your property. And if you hadn't said a word, it just would have happened. It just would have went through. Now, I was very fortunate to have these two gentlemen on top of this issue, and we forced the Department of Finance's commissioner to come to my office to sit down with myself, Bob, Warren, as well as my Assemblyman Ed Braunstein, and we started looking at the numbers, discussing what was happening. The commissioner began to concede there might be a problem. There might be a problem. 100% to 200% increases, there might be a problem. That's your city government hard at work. The way the Department of Finance does its assessment, they are using basically a computer model. And as you know, the mayor has almost absolute control over the mayoral agencies. Of course, the Department of Finance is one of them. I can't even get them to deal with parking tickets correctly, in case you haven't heard about that. So we're in a situation now where we're trying to put pressure on DOF. Their reaction was the letter that you were just informed about, where they're willing to cap at 50%. Well, that's great. They're willing to cap at 50% of the increase because they know, in our district in particular, we have 100 to 200% increases, so they know they're never going to be able to justify that. This is their stopgap measure to try to mollify, to pacify, to prevent you guys from doing what you're doing right now, which is getting up and saying, this is not going to happen. Because if they allow the rates to go up this year at this rate, and we wind up with a property tax increase next year, and we know we'll get a water and sewer rate increase, because 10 years of hard data tells us it will be a double-digit increase next year, because it has been every year for 10 years. Your maintenance costs will escalate beyond your ability to pay. At some point, you'll be paying more in taxes and water and sewer rate fees than you do to actually pay the mortgage. And that's a real problem. So on the city side, we're looking at twofold problem. One, we have to find a way to corral the method that the Department of Finance uses to create the assessment. And the second thing we need to do is now go back to each and every property that's been assessed and get them to reevaluate them. You have an incredibly strong President's Council. We had a great meeting that Senator Stavisky, who's here, chaired at our Bay Terrace location. She brought together a lot of people who were very much on the same page here. Councilmember Mark Weprin, who has worked with me at the council. He's from the south end of Queens, the southeast. He is the head of the caucus that handles condo matters inside the city council. He has been pushing for legislative reform. The senator has been pushing for reform. She has been looking at this issue. Her staff has been working with all of the other electeds to try to peel back the onion, but it's not a simple onion to peel back, and you need to understand that. But you also need to know that individual legislators can't fix this. We need you to put the pressure where it belongs, up in Albany and here in New York City, to make sure that real, lasting reform is done, because if it's not, this will be a Band-Aid, and we'll fix it today, and next year we're going to have the same problem. And we'll continue to go in this direction unless somebody says enough is enough. Now, Warren and I were kind of joking a moment ago about tea parties, and that's kind of where we're at now, and not that tea party, but another one, about the taxes. The co-op condos have always been second-class, literally, citizens in the tax structure. Class 2 properties. You've always been there. But now you're getting hit on both sides. So this is an opportunity. We have an opportunity to get out in front of it. We have an opportunity to really address the underlying fundamental issues to change both how Department of Finance will assess and how the state will tax you. Don't forget about this. Don't walk away if we get the DOF to make their assessments go down this year and let them get away with just doing that. Because we will revisit this problem over and over again. We need you to stand with your legislators like the senator. We need you to stand up and say no is no, and that's got to be to the mayor, to the Department of Finance, up to Albany, so that everyone understands we are going to fix this problem on both sides of the equation once and for all. And know that I'll continue to be working with your co-op presidents boards, with the attorneys who have done so much. And we've had success. As I said, 70% of the properties we've identified in my council district office alone have had those assessments overturned. 70%. Now that's just the people who contacted me. Imagine how many haven't. Imagine how many haven't spoken with Bob or Warren or the senator's office to try to get some relief. It's only by standing together that we are going to make a difference. So I'm asking all of you to make a commitment. I know you've got a lot of anger, you've got a lot of issues with what's going on, you feel, and you're right to feel, that you've been treated unfairly. Understand that there are those of us in government who understand that. The senator understands that, your councilman understands it, your assemblyman understands it. We need to work together to find the solutions on those two fronts. So I will be working with you. My office is open to you. I will continue to work with the gentlemen and ladies up here, and I hope that that gives you an idea. I'll be happy to answer questions afterwards. Thank you.